आदित्यानाम अहम विष्णु ज्योतिषाम रविर अंशुमान मारीचिर मारुताम अस्मि nakshatranam aham shashi. Hello friends, this is the 21st shlok of the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and today we will understand this shlok in detail. So let's first go over its meaning. So the shlok says Adityanam aham Vishnu, which means among the Adityas I am Vishnu. Jyortisham Ravir Anshuman, which means amongst the luminous I am the sun full of rays. Marichir Marutam Asmi, which means Marichi among the Maruts, and Nakshatranam Aham Shashi, which means among the Nakshatras I am Shashi, which is moon. So in this shlok, Shri Krishna is going to describe about his opulences, and there is a lot of symbology that is present over here. So in order to understand what has been mentioned here and also in the subsequent coming shloks, you have to have a lot of understanding about the background knowledge or symbology that has been used in Hinduism. And so you should pay very special attention to what has been said over here, because if you can understand what Shri Krishna is telling over here, then it should help you in understanding the teachings in the Vedas, because there is a lot of background knowledge that is there, which is symbolic, and so that symbology has to be understood. And if you can understand that symbology, then that symbology is what has been used in the Vedas, and so you can understand the Vedas also. So with that, let's understand what Shri Krishna is saying over here. So the first thing he says in this shlok is that amongst the Adityas I am Vishnu. Now in the Vedas there are two different goddesses whose name gets mentioned. There is the Diti and the Aditi, and it is said that Diti is the mother of all the Asuras, and Aditi is the mother of all the Devas. Now people generally think of it just till there, and then they don't go into the details of what exactly these two goddesses mean, because if we were to understand that, then we can understand what Adityas are and what Vishnu is. So Diti, actually, if you were to translate it in Sanskrit, then that means to break, basically breaking into pieces. So Diti actually is the goddess which is engaged with the breaking of things in this world, and Aditi is the opposite of Diti, Aditi. So Aditi then is the goddess which is associated with not breaking or bringing things together or joining or uniting things. So that is why the forces which are destructive in this world, they break things, and so they are basically the Asuras. And the entities which bring things together, they are the Devas. So that's why Diti is the mother of the Asuras, while Aditi is the mother of the Devas. Now, the children of Aditi are the Adityas, and if we were to understand that, then that means that whatever is associated with the unity, with unifying the things, is a Deva, and that is an Aditya. He is the offspring of Aditi. So now, with that, here Shri Krishna is saying that among the Adityas I am Vishnu. Vishnu, generally when we understand him, we generally think of him only from the point of view of the Trinity, Hindu Trinity. But if you were to go deeper, then the word Vishnu actually means all pervading. In the Vedas, when they talk about the Vishnu, there is a story of how he treaded the whole universe. He basically traveled over the whole universe in just 3 steps, and that is the story of Vaman also. So Vishnu basically is the one which is all pervading. The Sanskrit meaning of Vishnu is all pervading, everywhere. So the biggest unity in this universe is the unity of this entire creation. So if the entire creation is to be united, and there is an entity which is all pervading, which pervades this entire creation, then that will be the highest unity. And so amongst the Adityas, which are the ones which are unifying forces, the highest is the one which is all pervading, and therefore Shri Krishna is Vishnu among the Adityas. So this is how you have to look at it from the Vedic point of view, how Vedas describe the whole thing. After that, Shri Krishna is saying that among the luminous ones, luminous objects, I am a sun full of rays. So this is easy to understand. On this planet, the brightest object that we can see is the sun. All the other lights are actually coming from sun. The energy of this sun is what is used to create all the electricity. All the other lights are coming from there, and so the light of any other object will fade in front of the light of the sun. Therefore, Sri Krishna amongst the luminous objects is sun, which is the highest in luminosity. Similarly, we can understand how he is moon among the nakshatras. That's what he says in the end, that amongst the nakshatras I am the moon. Now, nakshatras, as we know, are the constellations which you can see in the sky. So those are basically celestial objects that you can see in the sky at night. And amongst the celestial objects, the brightest that you will see at night is moon, of course. And in the Puranas, we can we can see the story of how moon got married to 27 nakshatras. So that also signifies his lordship over the nakshatras, because he is the most luminous at the night time. And so Shri Krishna, therefore, among the nakshatras, which is the objects that you see at night in the sky, the brightest is Shri Krishna. So Shri Krishna is moon among the nakshatras. Now the difficult part over here is to understand how Shri Krishna is Marichi amongst the Maruts. That is the most difficult part over here. So to understand that, you first have to understand that Maruts, as described in the Vedas, are the devas associated with the stormy clouds. And stormy clouds basically are the ones which cause rain, and that rain happens because the stormy clouds have very fine particles on which the water gets condensed. Now in the Vedas there is a story also where Indra is helped by the Maruts to fight against Vritra and to gain the knowledge, basically. And we also know that Maruts in the Puranas, it's been mentioned that Maruts were also born from Diti. Now Diti, as we know, is the goddess of breaking apart, and the small particles, they are created when the stones are broken apart. So when things are broken apart, that's when small particles are created, and these small particles, when they rise up in the sky, that is when they form the clouds, and these clouds are what bring the storm, and with that storm comes the rain. So if you were to understand it from this point of view, you can see that Maruts actually are the dust particles which rise up in the sky and cause the storm to happen. And we know that Indra actually is the lord of rain and thunder. He then throws the lightning bolt, and he creates rain from in the atmosphere. So from this whole understanding, what you can see is that the rain is caused by the condensation of water on the small particles. And so in terms of forming the rain, these small particles are playing a very important role. Now Vedas are very, very symbolic, as I've said many times. So in Vedas, when they talk about rain, it's not just the rain. I mean, people generally say that rain is since it brings in fertility and crops, therefore people used to worship rain. But it's not just that. There is a deeper meaning over there. As we know that the water has a significance of knowledge also in the Vedas. That's why the expanse of knowledge is Varun, which is ocean. So rain basically is the manifestation of knowledge from the unmanifest, because rain happens from the atmosphere. The atmosphere doesn't have any water, but then from atmosphere water comes out. So it's the manifestation of knowledge from the unmanifest. That is what is rain. And so these thunderclouds, they are bringing in that knowledge from the unmanifest. So they are helping Indra to gain that unmanifest knowledge, and then basically express it or manifest it in this creation. And Indra, as we know, is our executive mind. It's the mind which is the highest level of our executive mind is Indra. So when the knowledge is manifested in our mind, then basically we get the knowledge. And so that whole process is also described by this process of rain formation. And then this knowledge comes as a brilliant spark in our mind. So that is what is the lightning that it shows. So this whole process is what is the process being mentioned in the Vedas, wherein the rain is happening. And this is enabled by that small particle on which the water condenses, and these small particles are formed by breaking up of stones. So Diti is creating these small particles which are maruts, and the best amongst those maruts is the one which is the smallest particle which can rise up and then lead to the formation of rain. And if you were to look at Marich, the meaning of Marich in Sanskrit is also a speck of light in air, or you can see the very fine particles that you see in air. That is what is Marich if you were to translate it. So basically, Maruts are these forces which are causing thunder to happen, and this thunder happens because of those small particles, and so those small particles are the seed from which the rain comes out, and therefore Marichi is the one who is causing this rain to happen fundamentally, and so he's the seed of the rain, and that's why amongst the Maruts, Marich, Marichi is the Sri Krishna, because Sri Krishna is the seed of all things. So that is how over here it's been represented by Sri Krishna. So those were the four different opulences of Sri Krishna as described over here by him. I hope that I've explained them well to you. With that, I'll close this video. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.